65 million years ago, dinosaurs roamed the earth. But today, 65 million and 30 years later, is that how math works? It doesn't matter. Jurassic Park is 30 years greater. That's right. It's 30 years greater. The post show recaps and RHAP podcast, where we are going back 30 years into the past to talk about movies from the 1990s. I'm Josh Wigler. I'm joined here by Rob Cesternino, and welcome to Jurassic Park.
You know, Josh, we were so preoccupied with whether or not we could do this podcast. We didn't stop to think if we should.
Yeah. Should we stop to think about it now, or is it too late?
I think it's too late.
I think it's a little late. I think that we've is this the podcast equivalent of a velociraptor? Like, was this an irresponsible podcast to bring into the world?
This one in particular, or this series?
I think that this specific episode of this specific podcast series.
I mean, I think no, this not the specific episode, but as a concept, we basically have gone back. We found movies that were preserved in
amber.
In ember.
Yeah.
And we have basically figured out a way to, bring them into the future. And there are a lot of people that every week are like, no, you shouldn't be talking about this now. This is not good. This is not good.
Don't bring
maybe
it
not
into
with
the
Jurassic
future.
Park.
Yeah.
Right. Don't bring it into the future.
Yeah.
This movie cannot survive in 2023. But we said, life finds a way.
Life finds a way. If it's not us, it's going to be somebody else. So we may as well genetically alter the DNA from the tree sap and create some podcasts out of it.
This movie was not designed to live in this era.
No. Like, how could we possibly know if it would be able to coexist with the rest of the many great podcasts across the PSR and RHAP networks? But we're here to find out here on 30 Years Greater, which if you're just joining us, you should go ahead and subscribe. Postshowrecaps.com/30 is the RSS link when you search by URL. Or
hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts. Oh, should it be postshowrecaps.com/hold on to your butts? What's that link to?
No.
I don't know what that should link to. To the Patreon, patreon.com/postshowrecaps. No, we are so happy to have you all here. Make sure you're subscribed. Post Show Recaps 30 Years Greater, wherever you get your pods. We are here talking about movies that first came out 30 years ago. We are trying to do that as close to the day as possible. For the case of Jurassic Park, we launched this podcast about a month and a half past the point that Jurassic Park would have been eligible. And graciously, the universe, or at least Universal decided to re-release Jurassic Park in theaters this past weekend in 3D, which Rob and I both did not go and do.
No.
I assume.
I watched it in 2D. In my 3D world.
Yeah. 2D, 2X, or 1X? How did you do?
Yeah. 2D, 1.5X.
Yeah, you got to go
Jurassic
fast.
Park.
Listen, those dinosaurs, they could really come after you. You got to get ahead of them.
Those velociraptors were terrifying.
Swift.
The Jurassic Park, the T-Rex was reaching top speeds of about 85 to 90 miles an hour.
Horrible. To be chased
when this thing hit 88 miles per hour, I saw some ish.
Your life pass before your eyes. Can you imagine? Just imagine for a moment in our hellscape that we live in modern day life in America, to be chased down by a Tyrannosaurus Rex on top of it all.
Of the many ills of our modern day world and all of the different existential threats that we face, real life dinosaurs is seemingly not one of them. One of the few things, from the movies of this era that were potentially like, the centerpiece of horror movies. This is one that honestly, like, not a major top 100 threat.
Yeah, I think top 100 off the board, dinosaurs returning to Earth and regaining supremacy. This is not one of our various crises. But if it were, I don't want to think about it. Jurassic Park, a cautionary tale about science gone wrong. What happens when man plays at God? And I think that is a relevant theme to our modern day, that the great Michael Crichton, author of the original Jurassic Park novel, as well as its follow-up novel, Jurassic Park: The Lost World, saw coming many decades earlier. Did you ever read the Jurassic Park books on which the film franchise is based?
No. Should I?
The books are fun. Yeah. Books are fun. They're like different in meaningful ways from the movie. Like different characters live, different characters have like more importance than
Okay.
others. And there's like some good Easter eggs, specifically or raptor eggs in the first movie. The second movie, the Lost World sequel, that's going to be covered in 2027 on 30 Years Greater. So we can talk about a little bit today because it's so far from now that we'll forget this. Like, has almost nothing in common with the book.
The book.
Has nothing in common with the book, but this is like
Mhm.
close enough. So we gotta talk. We gotta talk about JP. J Park, as we like to call it here, Rob. A Steven Spielberg joint. It's
Mhm.
kind of nice to get back to Spielberg after we've been away from him for a few weeks. Pre 30
Yep.
Years Greater, we were doing Indiana Jones.
Yeah, we saw a lot of Indiana Jones, and there is, some of the Spielberg staples that you get in all of his movies of characters reacting to things before you see the thing, and then not seeing the thing for a while, and cute animals, and all sorts of Spielbergisms that are in there.
Yeah. This is a movie that I think is thought about as one of the true classics of the 90s. I think one of the things that we are doing here on 30 Years Greater, Rob, is asking the question of how does this hold up 30 years later, and whether or not the movie itself holds up 30 years later. There's just no question that this movie is still being like widely discussed 30
Yeah.
years later.
Yeah, I mean, that I honestly, I didn't really even see anything, that, like, really stood out to me as, like, "Boy, that does not hold up,"
Yeah.
maybe other than some of, like, the computers that they're using. I'm like, "Okay, that is,
Uh-huh.
comical," the computers that are happening in this movie, but other than that, I think it really does, hold up remarkably well. Maybe the pacing is a little slow in points where
Okay.
compared to a modern day film, but
Yeah.
just going back to the re-release, it seems like something that might have been like thrown together, and maybe this is me like holding on to my butt and talking out of my butt at the same time, but it seems
Quite
like
an
that would.
athletic achievement, by the way, to do
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
was this just like that the people at Universal like, "So, boy, this is a very soft movie summer. Okay, how about this Hail Mary? Jurassic Park,
No, they're
third."
doing well. Universal's the Oppenheimer studio. Like, they had
Because
a pretty good summer.
but why not do it at the time it was the 30 years of
Yeah,
Jurassic Park? Is it just it was up against too much competition
part of me
then?
wonders, yeah, like, did they forget? Was it up against too much competition? I'm trying to think of what was out at the start of June, and it's like a month after that that we're getting into Mission Impossible Barbenheimer territory. So, like, I feel like they probably had some space to do it. Maybe it just it took too long. Maybe they just
They
like
weren't
really
ready.
really wanted to get the 3D just right. But irrelevant to our interests. 25 or 30 years now at this point. We're talking about Jurassic Park still. Had When was the last time you had seen this? Is Jurassic Park on your regular rotation?
I think that I probably had watched it in probably like 2021. I think when it was
Yeah.
on HBO Max, I think I
Yeah.
tried to show it to my kids. I think we got like halfway through it.
Yeah. Famously, Jurassic Park holds a great historic place in the post show recaps network's heart. The post show recaps patron program was launched via a
Mhm.
podcast called Jurassic Park, the podcast, which advertised itself as a podcast about Jurassic Park and then became a nightmare fueled sojourn into the process of becoming a patron of post show recaps. And we are still here 3 years later, but that may have been like an ill-conceived, reckless way of going about launching a patron program.
Mhm.
I think that there was definitely
I think
some.
it was very appropriate. It's very fitting.
I do think it fits the vibe of the PSR patron experience. So Jurassic Park has a place in the PSR network already. You could go back and listen to that podcast, but we barely talk about Jurassic Park in that movie, in that podcast. We will for sure talk about Jurassic Park this time. Scout's honor, we will do it. No jokes, dragon fruit and all of that good stuff. Do you have memories of seeing Jurassic Park as a child?
Yeah, so I remember 1993, it was just like the biggest thing ever. And I don't remember that for whatever reason, like I feel like that my parents were very like late in the game, and I feel like many
anti-dinosaur.
No, but many weeks after it had been, doing just bonkers at the box office. It was we went to a drive-in to go and see the Jurassic Park.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Have I told you before, either on this podcast or not? I've never been to a drive-in before.
Oh,
I've never done the drive-in. This
Yeah.
seems like a great movie to do at a drive-in movie theater.
Yeah, I think so.
That scene when they're driving away from the T-Rex would
you'd be in the car for some of
Yeah.
this. But you could get out of the car for the drive-in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think once the T-Rex is like stomping around on cars for that scene, if I was a kid seeing it at a drive-in movie theater, I'd have to get out of the car and I'd probably cry a little bit. I think I'd be scared. I think I would have been scared. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I do remember going to see it and being pretty excited in 1993 about Jurassic Park. It was just so much like
it was everywhere.
It was ubiquitous.
It was everywhere. It was everywhere. So I don't remember how old I am. I really should probably remember how old I think I'm 8 years old, 93. I think that's right. Does that math out? Let's say yeah. And so I'm a kid that's like right in that sweet spot for the Jurassic Park marketing machine. So like there were toys, there were like, and you can really see in the movie that like Dr. Grant is dressed like an action figure. Ellie Sattler is dressed like an action figure. Those toys, they looked exactly like their movie counterparts with like the pink shirt or like the blue shirt. It was really great stuff. And I loved those action figures. I saw them on the shelves and I had to go and see Jurassic Park after that. So they got me. They got me exactly where they wanted me. And then I was like riveted in the theaters. I think, again, if I hadn't seen Terminator already, I would have been utterly terrified of this movie. But instead, it was just a thrill ride from start to finish. Loved Jurassic Park and was such a sucker at that time in my life that I was even like really in on Lost World when Lost World came out. We'll have to reevaluate that in a few years from now. But the toys are great. Do you have any awareness of the toys? Do you know what like dino damage is, Rob?
No, I don't.
So the dinosaurs. The dinosaur action figures. There was like a line of the Jurassic Park action figures where they introduced a line called dino damage. And you would think that that's like the damage the dinosaurs inflict upon the humans, but instead it seems to be the damage the dinos inflict upon themselves, because the dino damage action figures that you would get is like what's called a Triceratops. So the Triceratops is in your action figure shelves now, and you go and you buy the Triceratops action figure and you take it home, and the dino damage is it's got like a removable chunk of Triceratops. So you like take out like like just like a chunk of the side of the Triceratops and you see like rib cage and muscle, and that was the dino damage, and I thought it was the coolest freaking thing in the world.
Just from a perspective of like a traditional movie, like there is no like typical action hero. I mean, the closest you have to that is
Muldoon.
Yeah,
Patrick Muldoon, not like Patrick Muldoon. He's an actor who dies in Starship Troopers.
I mean, typically, like the blockbuster movies of this era, like Arnold Schwarzenegger is, and this is a movie. I mean, it's more of an ensemble.
Yes.
You have Sam Neill and Laura Dern, and who could forget Jeff Goldblum, who's great.
Yes.
But you don't have like the titular person that you want the action figure of.
Right. Yeah. But they were still so cool. Because like they were hanging out with dinosaurs and you could imagine them fighting dinosaurs. And it was really great. So like for me, it was like the toys before the movie, I think. And then it was the movie. And I was wondering why I suddenly had like an action figure of Tim the kid.
Tim.
little Tim. I think that's a really good point that this ends up being a movie. I think in so many ways, it is a movie that is held up on the backs of like all of the characters in this movie have something to contribute. Maybe not always something like, like super great to contribute, but no wasted shots in this film. I think like every single person who gets a speaking line is memorable in some way. Even some of the background people that we'll see if we get into all of them. But are you ready to talk about the story of Jurassic Park?
Not to shade Sam Neill anymore, but this is the only movie that could have been like, $1 billion blockbuster with Sam Neill as the lead
on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if that's true. I guess you're not an Event Horizon guy. I don't know that will inflict Event Horizon upon the 30 years greater masses. When does Event Horizon come out? Event Horizon 1997. So while he wasn't doing Jurassic Park 2, he was in space ripping his eyeballs out. Speaking of dino damage. Sam Neill, he gets to do the Harrison Ford thing. Do you think Harrison Ford would have been a better Dr. Grant? Or would it have been too repetitive of Indiana Jones?
I don't think it would have been too repetitive. But it's hard to say that the movie would have made $1 more if Harrison Ford, so it's like they spent the money on the effects, and you can it's like building like a fantasy football team of like, we'll put all our money into the dinosaurs, and then that we just don't have to necessarily have like a super expensive cast.
Yes, that's right. All right, Rob, we got to talk about Jurassic Park's story, and this movie memorably begins with it's a stormy night on Isla Nublar. Is that what it's called? Isla Nublar. Here,
wrong person.
Yes, Isla Nublar, the tropical Isla Nublar, as a storm is raging through, and the workers at Jurassic Park are trying to transport a velociraptor. This movie also is the first time a young Josh Wigler learns about a velociraptor, just like that strange little boy.
This movie put a velociraptor on the map. Nobody knew what a velociraptor was prior to Jurassic Park.
Before Jurassic Park, like, what's your favorite dinosaur? Very easy answer.
T-Rex, Brontosaurus, Triceratops, Stegosaurus, Pterodactyl.
And then you left this movie, big five. And you're like, Velociraptor. Like Velociraptor shoots to the top.
Velociraptor was nothing prior to Jurassic Park. There's no mention of. That for all I know, Velociraptor could have been made up by Jurassic Park.
Yeah, at that moment in time, I was like, "This can't be real, right?"
You're telling me that
there's like a Velociraptor, there's a dinosaur out there that's scarier than a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it turns out the answer is like wildly yes, absolutely. They're smart, stealthy, lithe little killers that'll just like claw you with their sharp nail and just rip out your little guts. And the movie is going to like very effectively demonstrate this in the first scene when the worker gets dragged in and Muldoon, the raptor handler, very famous, shoot her, shoot her. And we cut to we get some other stuff first, but shortly after that, we're going to get our first Dr. Grant scene where he tells a small boy, this like boy who's like kind of like
was extra,
this extra again. So this is what I mean, like no wasted parts, like a very memorable kid asks about the raptors, like that doesn't sound real. That can't be real. A velociraptor. And Sam Neill is like, oh yeah, well, this is a velociraptor claw, and what if it cut you like this or like that? And it hunts you. And if you think you see one and you think you got the jump on it, its brother's going to come at you from the side of the woods later in the movie to the guy from the front. That's what's going to happen to you, kid. I remember being in the theater being like, I'm petrified of the concept of a velociraptor now. They do a very good job of like explaining to the kid in the movie and then explaining through the kid in the movie to the kids in the audience of like, oh God, no, velociraptor's bad news. Very bad news.
Yep. This is real. It's happening. So
happening in a major way. Okay, so the velociraptor kills the handler, and this is causing all kinds of problems. There is the big business that is investing in the concept of Jurassic Park, and so we need to send somebody out to see like what's going on. Is this is this safe? Are we going to be walking into major lawsuits by opening up Jurassic Park? So in comes the blood-sucking lawyer, Donald
They hate
Gennaro.
lawyers in this movie.
This is a movie that is decidedly anti-lawyer.
Yes, that's why I'm glad that we have the Suits Yourself podcast to balance out all of the dragging of lawyers in this movie.
Is the Suits Yourself podcast, which people can follow at suitspodcast.com, daily Suits podcasting from Rob and Chappelle, if you were not yet aware. Is that a pro-lawyer podcast?
Yes. Lawyers are the heroes of Suits.
Okay, yeah. How would the lawyers of Suits do at Jurassic Park?
I think Harvey Specter would have gone there, and then basically he would not have been like, how much money can we make? He would have been very concerned about like the safety of the people.
Really?
Yes.
He would have shut it down.
He would have shut it down.
Wow. Okay. And what about the other guy? What's his name again?
Mike?
Yeah.
Mike Ross?
Yeah, Mike Ross.
Yeah, I think that he would have been pretty impressed with all the dinosaurs.
He would have been like a very good Dennis Nedry candidate to like go and steal the secrets of Jurassic Park, because he could just look. He could just like look at all the information. He could look at all of like the books of like how to make a dinosaur, and then he just would have to commute out of Jurassic Park.
Yeah, but you have to get the embryos out. That would
be hard. That'd be hard. So the safety measures are in place. We're gonna have to do a site visit. Gennaro is going to go. We are also going to have to recruit a bunch of other people. So this is how we get Dr. Grant. This is how we get Ellie Sattler. This is the Sam Neill and Laura Dern characters being introduced into the movie. And they are a pair of a paleontologist and a paleobotanist. So they're really just like dividing and conquering the paleo field. And they're just like out on like a dig. There's that great scene earlier in the movie where the bad guy from Clear and Present Danger, who is like the excavator at the start of this movie, says, "Grant's like me. He's a digger." And Alan Grant digs, and so does Dig Alan, and so does Dr. Sattler. And while they're out there digging, John Hammond, the great Santa Claus of Jurassic Park, Miracle on Isla Nublar, Richard Attenborough himself, the late great, is in their trailer popping their champagne. This is like a little bit home invadey.
Yeah. Hey, look, he's got to, tell them the big news. Hey, have you heard? I've got a Jurassic Park.
He's like, I've got dinosaurs. Do you want to meet them? I'd love for you to meet the dinosaurs. And so like, there's a little bit of like, I'll believe it when I see it, but yeah, I guess I'll come and I'll check this out. Sure. Why not? Let's give it a look. So Dr. Grant and Dr. Sattler are in. We're also going to get the chaos mathematician, Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum. As a kid, favorite character. Quite obviously.
Yeah, he's so good. Yeah. I don't necessarily know like why they need him. He does show up and he is on his high horse throughout the whole movie. And but he is the coolest character.
He's so cool
in the film.
Yeah.
Probably his coolest role ever for Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if he's ever played anybody who's like just outright cooler than Dr. Malcolm. He's had a great storied career. He has saved many a day, and also has ruined many of a day. Like there's a world,
Independence Day.
Yeah, there's a world where Dr. Malcolm gets involved in some sort of horrible genetic experiment here at Jurassic Park and becomes the fly that sucks the dino DNA out of the amber. And that's a very different movie, and it's very gross. So I'm glad that we get this one instead. But yeah, I think that they're like, okay, well, you think about like the chaotic ramifications of the universe. Are we doing something so egregious? So he gets called in to do one-liners and stuff. And Gennaro, the lawyer, is there as well. So that's kind of the four. These are the four people on the site visit. Separate from all of this is the aforementioned Dennis Nedry, Wayne Knight. What was Seinfeld actively happening as Jurassic Park is happening? So you see this movie and immediately that's Newman.
Yeah. I mean, he had like the character of Newman became, I think that he is like in Jurassic Park, such a big part of Jurassic Park. And then I think that they wrote a bigger, like, I think that he was just a recurring character. And then I think that he becomes like a series regular. Like he's not in every episode of Seinfeld, but his role on Seinfeld, they definitely like,
Blows up.
we got to use this guy.
Blows up, yeah. So he's playing Dennis Nedry. This is my first exposure to Wayne Knight, and so I went like the reverse commute of then I checked out some Seinfelds. Eventually, I was like, oh, there's Nedry. So
hello,
like
Nedry.
Hello Nedry. Hello John Hammond. So Nedry's like this selfish, greedy man who is meeting with a guy in a Hawaiian shirt named Dodgson. We have Dodgson here. See, nobody cares. And so Dodgson is like this guy from this shady rival group. And I believe in the books, he's like a really big deal, is my memory of Dodgson. I don't know if they've turned him into a big deal in like the sequel movies. I'm not a Jurassic World guy. I didn't do the Jurassic Worlds really. I watched them.
Okay.
I didn't watch the third one. But I know that they like expand on some of the smaller characters in these movies. But Dodgson's a big deal in the book. And he's
did you go see the last one where everybody in the multiverse? Yeah.
No, I didn't do it. I don't know. I was like soured on the whole thing. I thought that the first of these was not that good, and then the second one was okay. But like, I don't know. I was just like tired. I was too tired to see Jurassic Park Dominion. If people loved it, let us know. I would love to check it out if it was super, super good. But the last time they had brought Sam Neill back to the Jurassic Park franchise, he was having conversations with velociraptors, and it was weird. So I wasn't like super eager to revisit.
Which movie is that?
That's JP3. Yeah.
Okay.
He's the star of JP3.
Oh, he comes back for the third one.
Yeah, he's the star of JP3.
He's out in the Lost World.
Is there. He's out on Lost World. He's not there. He's nowhere in Lost World. And in Jurassic Park 3, he de-escalates a situation with Velociraptor. He bargains with a pack of Velociraptors, and they let him go. And that's in a movie where they brought dinosaurs back to life 65 million years greater. Yeah. That was implausible to me. So it didn't need to revisit. So Dennis Nedry's got a shaving cream can to put dinosaur embryos in. What do you think of this plan? Shut down Jurassic Park, sneak out some embryos, get off the park, huge payday. Was this worth doing for Dennis Nedry?
He's going to get $1.5 million, right?
That's a good amount of money.
It's a good amount of money, especially in 1993.
Yeah.
And it's for him, he appears to be in some kind of like dire straits. Like he has like this one conversation with John Hammond later where he's like, John Hammond is like, I know you have a lot of bills, but you need to be doing some financial responsibility. Like all of a sudden that John Hammond is Dave Ramsey of like, you gotta like, pay to that you spending too much money. I'm not gonna help you. I'm not gonna feel sorry for you.
He has like a lot of very like personal stake in Dennis Nedry. It seems like I would have loved for that to have been elaborated upon a little bit more. John Hammond has one of my favorite lines of the movies, or one of the lines of the movies I think about the most as it relates to Dennis Nedry. Yeah, Nedry, our lives are in your hands, and you have butterfingers. Great stuff. So Nedry is going to be the mole. We're on mole patrol, and it's Nedry. But let's go back to Jurassic Park. And the movie is probably like, we're like 20, 25 minutes into the movie at this point, right around where we are on the podcast clock, when you see your first dinosaur in all of its glory. And the Jurassic Park music is just coming in, the John Williams score. It's already been beautiful on the helicopter ride into the thing where Dr. Grant ties the seat belts together. And there it is, a Brontosaurus. Welcome to Jurassic Park, Rob. It's beautiful.
Welcome to Jurassic Park. Can I say something about the pacing of the movie? Like, I think that this is a uniquely paced movie. Okay. And, last week we talked about The Sandlot, which is also, in my mind, a uniquely paced movie because that
vignettes,
and again, I am not the greatest student of film structure, but this is a movie I feel like that the 3-act structure of this movie, I feel like, is a little off, where I feel like that the real, like, it's like a movie of like two halves of like, sort of like the first half of the movie is sort of like just like establishing the world of Jurassic Park. And then the second half of the movie is just surviving, where everything has just gone wrong. And it's really, in my mind, I felt like that the events around Nedry and Nedry ultimately getting away, like, happens probably like in the first, like, 25, 30 minutes of the movie. That's like the first act. Like, no, that's like halfway through the movie by the
Yes.
time that anything happens to Nedry.
Yeah, I think if I were to try to break it down into 3 acts, I think when John Hammond says, "Welcome to Jurassic Park," we're the end of Act 1. So, like, Act
Mhm.
1's question is, are there dinosaurs on modern day Earth? And at the end of Act 1, when we see the brontosaurs, the answer is, yeah. Okay, so Act 2
Mhm.
starts, and the question is like, is it a good idea to have modern day dinosaurs? And by the end of Act 2, which I would say is like after like the shit hits the fan, like it starts with like asking that question, interrogating that question in sort of like this soft, like round table dinner style Mr. DNA conversations. And then it goes to like Tim and Lexi and Grant are in the cars. They're running for their lives. The power's been shut down. The guy who tried to screw them over gets killed. And also, like, there's raptors and it's terrifying. And I think it's like when we get the reunion of Dr. Sattler, Tim, Lexi, and Grant that we move into Act 3. And so at
The
that point, I think
Velociraptor
we've like clearly like
Mhm.
established by the end of Act 2, like dinosaurs, it's not a good idea. This is a bad idea. And so then Act 3 is more like, can we do something about it? And by the end of Act 3, the answer is like probably no, but maybe we can escape. So like
Mhm.
I think that there's some 3 act structure to it, but it's like a little bit harder to see than some of the other movies I think that we've talked about for sure.
Mhm.
But it's really fun. I mean, I think that like the pace of the movie is really interesting because the action, like I was looking at the clock and it's like Dr. Grant's in the tree with the kids, and like the brontosaurus is about to sneeze on Lexi, and like there's only 35 minutes left in the movie.
Mhm.
I was shocked at that when I looked at that. I would have thought that that was halfway through. So yeah, there's something there for sure. Um, were you filled with wonder when you saw the dinosaurs? Were you just filled
Yeah,
with
I probably was. I mean, I think that at the time, it was such a quantum leap for, the
yeah,
visual effects.
yeah.
That are they like do they still hold up now? I have to say that this is probably like watching the movie. I'm like, I think the dinosaurs look a little fake
You know what's
in
funny
times.
is like I watched this for the fake Jurassic Park podcast that was the post show recaps Patreon commercial some
Yes.
years ago, and like I remember walking away from that being like, God, I really think that like it really holds up. I guess that would have been what, like 27 years greater.
Mhm.
That like, man, the movie just looks great. And then I watched it again this time, and what I clocked was like how green screeny the Dr. Grant going up to the brontosauruses are. It's like obviously like some of it is just like a little bit
Yeah.
on the fence, but then there's stuff like that like triceratops that's just like like on the ground,
Yeah.
just being like real sick. Like that feels like a real triceratops.
That was a
Uh,
practical triceratops.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, maybe like needed to like have some like practical help from a doctor,
Mhm.
certainly. But
Mhm.
yeah, practical. Like I think like the practical effects of this movie are really, really great, and the visual effects are like starting to show some signs of aging for me, but not so bad that like it robs me of that
No, definitely not.
immediate
But for
nostalgia.
1993, I mean, it was transcendent.
Incredible, absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I think like you put that next to like even some of the stuff from like my beloved Terminator 2, like I think blows it out of the water.
Mhm.
So like really, really good stuff. Okay, so then we do get into the question of like, okay, so dinosaurs are here. How'd you do it? And we get into the Mr. DNA sequence. And the very I have lines. I forgot. John Hammond has to do a bit with a pre-filmed version of himself and a cartoon character, Mr. DNA.
Mr.
Where did you
DNA.
come from?
Yes. Is
From the
John
blood.
Hammond gonna do this every day for every
I
group
thought
that
about this
comes
as well.
through?
Yeah.
Like, this is like, you would think that you would like, I get if John Hammond is in the movie, but
Yeah.
you would want to be training like the Jurassic Park pages to be doing this.
Yeah, I think probably that this is just for like the investors and like all of like
Ah,
the back end developers. I don't think that this is a front end feature. Like I don't think that like every guest that comes, though maybe like the people who are coming to Jurassic Park are like sickly wealthy probably. Like the ticket prices to go to Jurassic Park would make like your visit to the Star Wars Galaxy Hotel look really, really silly in comparison. And that was pretty expensive. So like maybe they buy themselves into like having like a personal tour from John Hammond, but I
mhm.
don't think so.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Like the Roy family comes here on vacation.
Yeah. Is there a comp between John Hammond and Logan Roy, do you think? Can you imagine it?
Well, they're
What
both
does Jurassic Park
men
look
with
like if
accents and gray
uh-huh.
beards.
Yeah.
No,
They're
but
wielding great power with
yeah.
maybe limited responsibility.
Unlike Logan Roy, John Hammond loves his grandchildren.
Yes, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know where his
Lexi,
actual
do you like
children are.
mozzarella? Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think he asks about that. No. Iverson, do you like velociraptors?
Mhm.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think that the idea of a Waystar Royco running Jurassic Park is kind of terrifying, though.
They are like in the amusement park
They are in the
business.
amusement park business, so it's a little
Yes.
frightening to consider.
Yes. I
Uh,
could see maybe putting Roman in charge of Jurassic Park.
Kendall Roy giving a really great Mr. DNA presentation. Honestly, the Mr. DNA presentation feels like a Kendall Roy idea.
Yeah.
Uh, he's like, so we're gonna need animators. We're gonna need to get freaking what's it called, Mr. DNA cartoon character, mascot T-shirts, coffee mugs.
It's going to be an interactive,
An interact,
immersive
yeah, totally, yeah,
experience.
yeah. I think the Roys do Jurassic Park is a really fun thing to chew on.
Shit's like, are we really doing this?
Yeah,
We're really gonna recreate dinosaurs from 65 million years ago?
yeah,
Have we thought this through?
Tom is like the blood-sucking lawyer equivalent
Mhm.
of like, I'm just an observer. I'm just an observer, just here to observe. Greg's like, I'm not sure that this is so good, Uncle Hammond. I don't think that this is the right thing to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would love to see the Roys at Jurassic Park. Do any of them survive Jurassic Park, or do they all get eaten? I don't know that they make it out of
Hard to
Jurassic Park.
say. Hard to say.
Yeah, I think they probably all get eaten up.
Mhm.
The Mr. DNA sequence happens. We learn that the dinosaurs have been extracted DNA from mosquitoes that were preserved in amber and spliced with frogs and other animals to fill in gaps in the dinosaur's genome. And like, I have no idea like what any of this stuff is at the time of watching the movie, but like the movie feels really confident in saying it, so you like buy it immediately. You're like,
Mhm.
yeah, that would work. Like that. Why haven't we done that yet? Like
Mhm.
that feels like that would work. It feels like Jurassic Park, the movie, just laid out the key to bringing dinosaurs back to life.
Yeah. The scientists also need to use somehow virtual reality also. Like
Uh-huh.
that's maybe we're just throwing things at the wall at this point in terms
Yeah.
of the science of that
Yeah.
we need to go into augmented reality to then put the DNA into the missing parts.
Unbelievable. So they go on like then it becomes like a theme park ride where like the room that they're in like goes and tours the science lab. I wondered where it was ultimately going to stop because they get
Mhm.
off the ride prematurely. But there's a lot of investment in just like the theme parkiness of the behind the scenes of Jurassic Park. Uh,
Mhm.
and it's here that we meet
A little
the
Epcot.
it's a little Epcot. I think a little Epcot. This is where we meet the Velociraptor baby being cared for by BD Wong, the great
Mhm.
BD Wong here in a very brief turn as Henry Wu, who will be like a supervillain in the new Jurassic World movies, I think is my understanding of it. I
Mhm.
think he's like the
Origin story.
yeah,
The
I think he's like
prequel.
the bad guy in the new Jurassic World movies. Like, great for BD Wong. He's incredible. If they had stuck to the book, I think Henry Wu is like a very big character in the book and gets like viciously mutilated by a
Oh
velociraptor.
my god.
Yeah, so like it works out better for Henry Wu turning into a bad guy. Either die at the maws of a velociraptor or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain of the Jurassic World series of movies. Lots of conversations about the ethics of this. Like you say, you thought so much about it if you could, you never stopped to think about if you should. Ellie Sattler's out on this. Dr. Grant doesn't
Yeah.
really know.
I will say that the one of the things that like I felt like was a little off
Yeah.
here on the rewatch is there's a lot of Ian Malcolm also talks about how God killed the dinosaurs.
Uh-huh.
That God didn't want this. What are
Yeah.
we messing? We're
Natural
messing with
selection.
God. It was
Yeah.
natural selection. That
Yeah.
if God wanted dinosaurs, he would have not killed the dinosaurs.
Right.
Like I bring a lot of like the will of God into
Yeah.
all of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I was just like, I thought you were all scientists. Like, I'm not. This isn't like an anti-religion take. It's just like
Sure.
I thought you're all like
Surprising.
men of science, and
Yeah.
we're bringing a lot of like, but this was God's will. Are we God? Are we God now?
Yeah, I mean,
God is God.
I think that probably like seeing man-made dinosaurs will like get you to like question a thing or two. Like it does feel like that would be such a phenomenon that you'd be like, okay, hold the phone. Wait a second. Like maybe God doesn't exist, but if God does exist, probably not thrilled at what we're doing, and certainly we are not God. So like
Yeah.
it is like a scary notion, and I think that he's probably trying to just like think about it from that. Like he seems like a very hyperbolic guy.
A hyperbolic guy,
Dr.
but
Malcolm.
he has a quote: God creates dinosaurs.
Yeah.
God destroys dinosaurs. God creates man. Man destroys God. Man
Yeah.
creates dinosaurs. Like, I just feel like that's somebody
Dinosaurs
who is
destroys man, women inherit the earth.
it feels to me a little like hypocritical to
Yeah.
be a chaostician
Yeah.
and then also talk about the will of God.
Yeah. Should we call him Chaos Malk?
Chaos Malk.
Yeah.
Sure.
Chaos Malk over here. So there's lots of questions about whether this is a good idea, but they're going to then go on like a greater tour after lunch. The room they're having lunch in is very strange. Dark
Yeah.
room with just like overhead projector artwork of like lots of different like dinosaurs on the walls and stuff. It's very strange. But they're gonna go on the tour. They meet Lex and Tim.
That's where companies can like the Roy Star Waco that they have their like company retreat there.
Yes, yeah, for sure. So we meet the kids, John Hammond's grandchildren, Lex and Tim. Do you like Lex and Tim? Do you have strong takes on Lex and Tim?
The kids,
Yeah.
the kids are fine.
Yeah.
That's the best I could say for them. Samuel hates kids.
Hates kids.
I don't hate kids.
Hates kids. Dr. Grant hates kids.
I don't love kids in movies, but
how do you think Dr. Grant would feel about Ollie on Game of Thrones?
He would hate him.
Yeah.
And even in the beginning of the movie, there's a whole thing about how like he's like telling Laura, what good are kids?
Yeah, yeah.
They're terrible.
But then he's gonna really like these guys by the end of the movie.
Yeah,
they go through something together.
There's nothing that is like really that made me upset about these kids. I liked when the one kid got shocked by the electric fence.
Okay,
that was great.
We'll get there. So Tim really likes Dr. Grant because Tim's a dinosaur dude. Like loves dinosaurs, loves all of this stuff, knows what
Tim's
a Dr.
still
Grant
working?
is. Yeah, Joe Mazzello's in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know that the person who plays Lex is doing much these days, but I don't know that for sure. But Joe Mazzello works a ton. He was on Justified. He was in The Pacific. He's been on a bunch of things. So I don't know what he's on right now, but he's probably on something fun right now.
Yeah, they didn't bring her back for the final Jurassic Park.
Maybe I don't know. I think that he and Lex show up.
She comes back in the Lost World.
That's it, right? Like they show up for like a quick flash in the pan, and then they're gone. They're just like there to be like, oh, connective tissue from the previous.
She's in the music video for Ben Folds 5 Brick.
Oh, really? That's depressing.
Yeah.
The implications. So yeah, she's gonna save the day by the end of this thing. We gotta observe. So we'll get to her in a bit. They go on the tour. The tour goes poorly. First, they're all scandalized by watching a goat get lowered into a Tyrannosaurus Rex paddock to be eaten. Next, they're gonna go and see like a Triceratops that is having like horrible diarrhea, is just like viciously ill, and the iconic, well, that's one big pile of shit, which still cracks me up all these years later.
Yeah. A review for many of the future Jurassic Park movies.
Yeah, well, that's just a huge piece of shit. And so Dr. Sattler's going to stay behind because she's seeing like poisonous plants that the Triceratops is eating. It's like a great point of like, we have no idea like what they would and wouldn't eat, and like how would they respond to like flora and fauna of today. This is irresponsible. You're making our Triceratops is very sick. So she's going to stick behind. The background character here, Dr. Harding, he's another book character, but he doesn't have anything to do with the movie. But he's a great guy in the book. Makes it. makes it.
How recently did you read the book?
Not terribly recently, but like very memorably read it
Yeah.
with my dad as a kid.
Okay.
He one of the great things Big Mike used to do is he would read books to me and my brother. And so we read Jurassic Park and we read Lost World, and I thought Lost World was really cool. There's a guy in it named Thorn who seemed really cool. Thorn never makes it into the movies, which was a disappointment. Okay, so now shit's really gonna go off. Dennis Nedry is going to institute his plan very clumsily. He's like, yeah, I just got to go. By the way, the power's going to go off maybe, and there's the thing, and also I'll be right back, but I'm not going to be right back. And he goes and he turns off the power in the middle of a hellacious storm, mind you.
Right. The storm really wreaks some havoc. I think if it wasn't for the storm, he would have got away with this.
I think so too. And I kind of feel like maybe like don't do your like clandestine dinosaur thievery operation in the middle of like cyclone season. Like that was probably the first mistake, and I feel like Dennis Nedry should have had like the operational authority to call it off.
Inaudible. Yeah, could he do it like next week?
Yeah, right.
Would that have worked?
It's not good tonight. It's not good tonight. We got to have another time that we can do this. So he goes, he does it, he takes the things, the power goes out, and this is very bad news for everybody who's still in those Jurassic Park cars. Did you ever see one of these Jurassic Park cars in the wild before, Rob?
Like at Universal Studios?
No, in the universe of our existence. Like, have you ever seen one on the streets?
Like, what do you mean a Jurassic Park?
There was
car?
I don't know if this was
Jurassic Park.
Just like some of the ways in which Jurassic Park was so in the culture is when I was a kid, there was a kid or a family at school that had like the Jurassic Park decals on like their Jeep. And it looked relatively close to the Jurassic Park Jeep. I don't know if that was a thing that happened far and wide, or if that was just like a quirk of my corner of Long Island. But that happened, and it was weird. Would you drive a Jurassic Park Jeep?
I would drive one. I can't really say that I experienced that firsthand.
Yeah. So the Jurassic Park Jeeps of the movie Jurassic Park experience a Tyrannosaurus Rex firsthand, and now people are going to start dying. Here we are as the T-Rex shows up, is going to play with the Jeep like it's its food. The iconic water ripple that happens with the tremors.
Yeah. Can I say, I don't like the T-Rex is big, but like wouldn't you be hearing that all day if, I mean, it's not Godzilla. I mean, the T-Rex is walking around constantly. You don't hear.
I wonder how much bigger is Godzilla than
especially
a T-Rex?
Once it starts raining and the ground is very muddy.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd be hearing more of like a sloshing sound.
Yeah, slosh. Just doesn't have quite the same cinematic ring to it, I guess. It gets really, but the lawyer gets out of the car. You're not supposed to move. They know your movement. And so the lawyer goes to make a movement. He goes to the outhouse. He sits on the toilet. And Malcolm is going to try and do something to save the kids because the T-Rex is really after the great
line of like, when you gotta go, you gotta go.
When you gotta go, you gotta go. Yeah, indeed. And Dr. Malcolm's gonna go and try and save
think we could
kids.
get into Goldblum voice if we were talking about this movie for long enough.
Yeah. Do you want to try it?
No, let's just keep going. We'll see what happens. You know, it's hard because I am also podcasting about Stars on Mars, and I'm trying
not to. Is Jeff Goldblum on Stars on Mars?
No, but Shatner is the host, and I'm trying not to get into modern day Shatner.
Sure. Yeah, easily confused. Ian Malcolm gets like woofed by the T-Rex. Just gets like thrown by the T-Rex. You think he's dead. It blows out the outhouse. Gennaro is on the toilet, just like fixing his hair in the face of the T-Rex. T-Rex eats Gennaro off of the toilet. Iconic movie death. Really
iconic. Yeah, probably the most gruesome death that we see in the movie, right?
Really up there. I mean, the implications of the deaths are really savage. Like, I think like if we were to rank like who had the best deaths, as in like if I had to go that way on Jurassic Park, how would I go? I might pick what happens to him, honestly. I think
Gennaro.
I think I'm dead really fast with being eaten by a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
But not instantly. Like, I think you are probably surviving. No. Like, he basically eats him in one gulp, and then so I think that you're probably you have survived the initial,
Yeah.
like, you're sitting on the toilet,
Yeah.
dinosaur eats you,
Yeah.
like, so I feel like your legs have been, like, amputated at this point,
Uh-huh.
but I think you are
Yeah.
surviving to make it into the T-Rex's
Okay.
digestive, tract.
You've had a heart
Uh,
attack at this point, I feel like.
you think so?
Yeah, I feel like you're dead. I feel like you're dead.
Mhm.
I feel like the whole experience is just too awful, that you don't make it through. But let's keep track of this, because I think that there's some questions to be had. It's not none of them are pleasant. Everyone who dies in this movie has a horrible death. All the people who die horribly. It's not good for any of them.
Mhm.
He gets eaten by a T-Rex and it's over relatively quickly in the scene, at least. Dr. Grant is going to go and save the kids as the car falls over the thing. It gets stuck in the tree. He's going to have to go climb the tree and get into the car for Timmy. I threw up, says Timmy. He goes, I
Mhm.
threw up. Dr. Grant says, that's okay. That they have to run out of the tree as the tree falls and or the car falls and almost flattens him off of the tree.
Mhm.
So now we've got like the crew of Timmy, Grant, and Lex. And like immediately, Dr. Grant is very paternal with these kids. It's like he's decided overnight, like, no, I think I'd like to be a father. Like I think I wouldn't mind being a dad. They hang out in the treetops. There's the brontosauruses. He's gonna stay up all night long.
Yeah.
He loves the "Do you think he's Saurus" joke immediately.
Yeah. I mean, these kids, they've got
Won
jokes for
over.
days, and
Yeah.
they've got dinosaur jokes, and that hits with him.
Yeah, yeah, they know exactly, like, they're hitting right in his strike zone.
Mhm.
So they're gonna go,
He's
like
not a dad. The kids have to supply the dad jokes.
no, that's correct, that's right, so they have to fuel it. So, like, he's like, "Oh, that's gonna be good. That's good
Write
information."
that down.
So, like, just to talk through what happens with them, they spend a night in a tree. They're like off in the wilderness for a while. They see like a flock of like those dinosaurs, whose names I don't remember.
Mhm.
And then they see a T-Rex eat that dinosaur. They find eggs, which means that the dinosaurs are breeding and they're not supposed to
Uh-oh.
be, but they are. Life has found a way.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
they find the electric fence that Timmy gets shocked by after Dr. Grant first goes to the fence because the power is out all across the place, and he grabs the fence. He goes, "Ah!" But it's a
Mhm.
joke. It's a dad. That's not a good dad joke. That's a mean dad joke. We're like, our
No, but
lives are
that
on
is
the line.
yeah. That is a dad joke,
It
though.
is a dad joke, but it's a mean dad joke.
Yeah.
So it's gonna go poorly for Timmy because on the other side of the storyline now, it's like everybody in the Jurassic Park hub. That's that's John Hammond. It's eventually gonna be Malcolm. They'll retrieve him. It's Ellie Sattler. It's Muldoon, the Raptor Wrangler. And we have not even discussed the fact that Samuel L. Jackson is in this movie
Mhm.
as Arnold. And this is like right before Pulp Fiction pops off
Yeah.
and Samuel L. Jackson becomes enormous. So this is like his last like enormous movie before he himself is like an enormous star.
Mhm.
I love Arnold. Great character. Hold
Yeah.
on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts is his catchphrase, and he's like working in IT support, and there's a lot, we haven't talked about, just to go back to Newman
Yes.
here, that he basically, Nedry has basically like tripped the system, and so they are sort of locked out of the Jurassic Park computer system. And I feel like that John Hammond is really trying to spin this as, the ultimate evil was technology.
The friends we made
Was
along the way.
yes, was
Yeah.
was was our reliance on computers. That was the
Yeah.
ultimate. If we would have just kept it all man-made
Yeah.
by like made our dinosaurs and then run Jurassic Park without all of this AI, it
It's like
would have been
like
fine.
don't try and make this an anti-AI movie, okay?
I think
Like,
John Hammond was trying to scapegoat the computer system.
listen, like maybe you're on to something, but this ain't that, like
Mhm.
you're doing a bad the
Right? Did
that
you get
thing
did you get that? He's like a
yeah,
little bit
like
like, like
yeah.
I knew we shouldn't have like They'll let the computers be in charge of so much
It's like,
stuff.
okay, yeah, that's right, but like that's not what the problem here
This was
is.
still your idea, sir.
Like you didn't ask Chat GPT if you should do Jurassic Park.
Mhm.
You never stop to think about if you should. You
And
didn't
you
even
also
ask.
you hired Nedry, sir.
Yeah, like you like vetted him, you were invested in him, all of
Yeah.
this stuff.
And then just recently, like in the last couple of hours, chastised him for having too much debt.
Yeah, that's right. So maybe you need to take a look in the mirror,
Mhm.
John Hammond. John Hammond does not make it out of the book. John Hammond has a bad death in the book. The tiny
Oh,
little dinosaurs from the second movie go after John Hammond, and it goes really
the
poorly for him.
babies
Yeah,
that
like
he's
those
there
tiny
for their
little,
birth. I thought they're bonded to him.
those like tiny little baby dinosaurs go after John Hammond, and he like falls down a hill and breaks his neck and dies.
Oh,
It's brutal. Not
yeah.
great. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, speaking of death, I
Mhm.
think we should probably talk about another iconic death in this movie, which is Dennis Nedry as he's escaping from Jurassic Park with a shaving cream can filled with embryos of dinosaurs, crashes his car in the night, in the Wayne night.
Mhm.
And he like like blows through a sign. He doesn't know which way is left, which way is right, and here he meets a horrifying dinosaur called a
Yes.
Dilophosaurus. The Dilophosaurus, Rob, that spits horrible black goo in your eyes after like first luring you in by thinking, "Oh, it's real cute.
Cute.
This dinosaur is like about my size, maybe a little shorter. What a cute little guy." And then it goes it has like a little like it fins out. Like it has like this little like tendril, like horrible,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
like an ascot that emerges, that unfolds from its flesh, its reptilian flesh, and it spits black goo in your face. And so now you've got like burning, searing tar in your eyes. And then Dennis Nedry frantically scrambles back inside of his car where the Dilophosaurus is waiting for him and presumably rips him apart inside of the car. I think that's worse than getting eaten by a T Rex.
Yeah, potentially. The venom that gets spit at him. Like I
Yeah,
remember it being like I thought he like it ends up going into like some kind of like paralysis, but he just
yeah,
seems like to be blinded. It doesn't really slow him down in any way.
yeah.
He drops the Barbasol
Uh
can.
huh.
Do you think that Barbasol paid to have that product placement in the movie?
Gosh, I hope not for their sake.
Hmm.
I feel like this is not like, like all press is good press. I don't know if this is good press.
Hmm. I think that it probably helped them.
Uh-huh. You
It's like,
think
oh yeah,
so?
that's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know what I will say is the scene where Dennis Nedry gets lunch with Dodgson and he sprays the thing and then he puts it on his toast. I always think about whipped cream when I see that scene. So
Yeah.
I think the Barbasol product placement is actually a good
Well,
commercial
then
for Miracle Whip.
Nedry, like, he gets like the shaving cream in his hand and then puts it on like somebody's like pie that's on
Yeah.
the table behind him.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna eat a shaving cream like pie.
Yeah, and it always made me think of whipped cream. I was like, tasty. It's good.
Mhm.
I like it. So Dennis Nedry gets eaten alive by the Dilophosaurus in his car. Bad way to go. Bad way to go.
Yeah.
And like we still have a lot of movie, and he's like the human bad guy of this movie, and he's
Yeah.
dead with like a good amount of time on the clock.
The embryos in the shaving cream can. I feel like that seems like some kind of like Chekhov's embryos that
Yes.
would come up
Yeah.
in future Jurassic Park, but
Yeah. Yeah.
does it?
I don't remember if that's like the
I don't know
engine
if
for the
the
sequel.
after 36 hours, I don't know
Yeah.
if maybe that they need to be like refrigerated or something.
Uh-huh. Well, they get caked in mud, right?
Mhm.
Like the mud just like piles onto the embryos. So like maybe at least the implication is like mankind's horrifying Frankensteinian mistake has now been encased in amber.
Mhm.
And who
In
knows what
shaving cream.
yeah, who knows what future generations will do with this product.
Mhm.
The shaving cream is gone. I can't remember if this comes back up in the other movies. We'll have to check them out in 1997 and beyond. So Dennis Nedry is dead. They need to get the power back online. Oh, we're yada yada past. They have to go and retrieve Ian Malcolm. we get the whole must go faster sequence where the T-Rex is chasing the car. And there's the objects in the mirror are not as close as they seem gag, which as a kid was my first exposure to the idea that the rear view mirror was there was illusions happening in the rear view mirror. So that was one way to find that out.
Yeah. It's just so many great set pieces all throughout the second half of this movie.
Yeah, just littered throughout. So that's one of them. The next one is we got to get the power back online, and Ellie Sattler and Muldoon will go through, like, they have to go through the Velociraptor paddock in order to get to, like, the place where Arnold has already gone to, but he hasn't come back. So they need to, like, do stuff to make sure that he's okay. And Muldoon, the hunter, realizes we're being hunted. And so he tells Ellie to go, and then he tries to hunt the Velociraptors, but he gets hunted by the Velociraptors. Clever girl.
Yes.
He says.
Yeah.
Great final words.
Great final words. But I feel like that he, like what Nedry might have been, seems like a little paralyzed by not moving quicker. Like,
yeah. He, like, tries to swivel and get a shot off, but it doesn't quite work. The Raptors have him exactly where they want.
But well after he's like, clever
girl. Yeah, if he hadn't movie lined, do you think that maybe he makes it?
He has
like
better
if he
chance.
hadn't, like, stopped to movie line,
yeah.
He's toast. I think he's toast. So I think that that's a worse way to go than the T-Rex. Just getting, like, ripped apart by two Velociraptors. Dr. Grant was very vivid about how that was going to work.
Sure.
You know, the movie very, like, kindly spares us having to see it happen. The movie also very kindly spares us seeing what happened to Samuel L. Jackson, except for the detritus. We see the aftermath. It's an arm that falls onto Ellie Sattler. That seems like that must have been a horrible way to go as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of done for a little bit of like I don't know if it's supposed to be funny.
I think it's like dark comedy. It's like there's a little bit of comedic effect.
On, like, oh, doctor. Oh, like,
oh, Arnold, it's so good to see you. It's your arm. It's your arm. But she gets the power back online, and we cut back to the electric fence that turns online just as Timmy, who was scared to go on the fence in the first place, gets booped, just like rocketed off.
Tim gets sent into orbit.
He goes flying. He goes flying. It's ultimately okay, but it's a real scary moment. They put the kid in peril. The children are going to continue to be in peril for the rest of the movie as we move into the final act of, like, okay, well, we're all here. Let's get to a helicopter, get to the chopper, and leave Jurassic Park. But first, the Raptors are figuring out how to open doors, and they come and terrorize Timmy and Lex. On the other side of Timmy and Lex, like, eating a monstrous meal. Like, they're eating
why was all this food out? What was going on here?
I think, like, the food safety issues in Jurassic Park are underrated. Like, all of that stuff shouldn't, like, the power was out, Rob. Like, this was out overnight. Like,
I think there's got to be a bug issue here of, like, I don't know, like, why was all of a sudden did they wander into like Willy Wonka's room here at Jurassic Park?
Yeah, there's like the mint jelly. There's like the green Jello that Lex is eating that I always remember, and like that as a food item is off the menu for me forever as a result. It's just like shaking on the spoon, this little green jelly. So they have to go and they have to, like, hide from raptors and try to outsmart the raptors on, like, tummies filled with goo. I gotta imagine this felt bad.
Probably. They probably had like an extra sugar rush after being up all night.
Maybe. So, like, they maybe had like an adrenaline thing. Yeah,
I think so. I think so. And you know, they were just high on all that sugar to be able to run away from the raptors. But don't worry, they can't open doors.
They can't open doors. They can open doors now. They figure out how to open doors.
Clever girls.
They're figuring out how to open doors. But what the dinosaurs didn't account for, and John Hammond maybe didn't even account for, is that humans can do incredible things on computers. And we find, what's the name of the system that a Unix system? I know this. And so Lex is a secret computer hacker in a thing
Who
that like
knew?
the movie, like if the movie drops the ball on it, like it does not set this up really at all. That like in the 11th hour, she's just like gonna like AOL this thing to life. Like we're gonna just like do like some dial-up modem saving of like locking doors, turning the power on, paving the way to get out of Jurassic Park. But that's how like the day is basically saved. It's a combination of that
Mhm.
and the T-Rex showing back up and eating the velociraptors.
Yes. We did not talk about what was going on back at the ranch with Laura Dern and Dr. Malcolm
Yeah.
and John Hammond. And there was a lot of because Ian Malcolm has been hurt. And there's the moment where we get Jeff Goldblum in the thirst trap.
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah.
what I'm referring
Oh,
to?
of course I do. We have an emote in the post show recaps patron Discord of him just like leaning back with his shirt open and just like sitting there.
Mhm.
Daddy Goldblum is what we call that.
Yeah. Yeah, can I share that? I am trying to, share my screen. Can I bring
Yeah.
this up?
Yeah. Look at that.
What
Daddy Goldblum.
Yeah, how about
Yeah.
this? How about
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, it's iconic. It's incredible.
Mhm,
There are it's a great meme format is Daddy Goldblum. I've seen some gifs of Sam Neill as Dr. Grant when he is like putting his head next to the Triceratops that they've like superimposed him
mhm.
onto Jeff Goldblum breathing. So it's like he's holding his abdomen and listening to Jeff. Like
Wow.
a tiny Dr. Grant is like hugging Jeff Goldblum, a giant Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, it's great stuff. Dr. Malcolm was a sex symbol for sure.
Good for him.
Yeah, yeah, he really was.
Yeah.
He was great. So he's like, he doesn't have anything to do with like saving the day. And so like he's like, all
No,
right, well, please bring me back for the sequel. I would love to run around. I'd love
he's
to
kind
like,
of out of commission other than just to chastise,
yes. Yeah, this one
John
goes
Malcolm,
here, that one goes there type of energy of
John
like
Hammond.
I can't move around to do anything. You guys do the stuff. But he's like, bring me back for the San Diego based dinosaur movie. I'd like to go see like the blockbuster scene in the Lost World. So he's gonna come back for round two.
Mhm.
So we'll get more of Dr. Malcolm, but they're able to make it out. Malcolm lives. The kids are alive. Dr. Grant is alive. He's big, proud papa mode. Ellie is very proud
Mhm.
of her partner's growth. And John Hammond is around to face to go on trial for crimes against humanity on the other side of what has happened here at Jurassic Park. Except I think that
Were
he's probably fine.
Sam Neill and Laura Dern, were they a romantic couple like heading into this film? Like they weren't like dating or anything,
I
right?
have no idea. If so, that would be the first that
I mean,
I've
they
heard.
never kiss in the movie, right?
No, you mean the characters?
The characters.
Yeah,
They
the
do kiss?
characters that are like they're partners.
Okay.
I think so. I do.
Not a lot of sexual tension there
No, not a
between
ton, but he doesn't like
Dr.
it.
Grant and Ellie.
He doesn't like it when Dr. Malcolm is like making moves. So he doesn't feel great about that. Dr.
Mhm.
Malcolm is like trying to like do some, and Dr. Grant is right there, and he doesn't like it at all. Doesn't like it at all.
Life finds a way.
Finds a way. So that's effectively the story of Jurassic Park. 30 years greater, 30 years worse, 30 years the same.
Yeah, I think it's just as good today
Yeah,
as it was then. I
yeah,
mean, it was like a transformative movie.
yeah, yeah. It's great. It's terrific. It's a phenomenal film. It's one that I think really stands the test of time going back to watch. Just like the nostalgic vibes of Jurassic Park. Really, really great. We try to reboot these movies, Rob, here on the podcast. I know you love to consult Chat GPT
Yeah.
about what would a Sandlot sequel look
You know
like.
what?
But like, how do you do that with Jurassic Park when it has been sequelized in a way that feels maybe like Chat GPT wrote it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I did that, but honestly, like it was not
Not
that
great.
interesting.
Yeah.
But what if instead of bringing it into modern day time, Can you set this remake in the 70s?
Okay.
What
I
would
thought
that
you were
look
say
like?
in like 65 million years ago. What if the
No.
dinosaurs genetically engineer humans
Mhm.
and bring humans in from the future back to the past?
So maybe this might be a
Yeah.
little bit better. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So this is what, and this is again such a great example why we need real writers,
Yes.
not Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Okay. So picture it. It's called the Jurassic World 70, The Last Frontier.
Okay.
The Lost Frontier, okay?
Wow.
But then we kick it right off. The year is 1979. I thought it was Jurassic World 70.
Yeah, that's already we're off to a bad start. Yeah.
It's the peak of the disco era, Cold
Uh-huh.
War tensions, and significant leaps in scientific discovery. Charles Knight is a maverick oil magnate, an
Charles
amateur.
Knight.
Yes, not Wayne Knight, and
Uh-huh.
an amateur paleontologist. And he has revealed his latest venture, Jurassic World 70. Again, it's 1979. So maybe it's a
He
throwback.
should be doing Jurassic World 80. Look to
Yeah.
the future, man.
Located on a remote island near the Bermuda Triangle, the
Okay.
park is home to you're asking for trouble already.
Yeah, that's already a bad start.
Okay. So accessible only via a private fleet of jumbo jets decked out in full 70s glamour, shag carpeting and all. The
Okay.
park offers an escape from the malaise of the decade. The dinosaurs are contained using electrified fences, powered by enormous solar panels and rudimentary computer systems that are considered state of the art for the 70s.
Yeah.
All right. Our protagonists are Sarah. She's a journalist who wants to expose Knight's venture as an ethical calamity, and Mark, a disillusioned Vietnam War veteran hired to oversee the park security measures.
Oh God. Wow.
Upon upon their arrival, Sarah and Mark are given a Polaroid camera to document their visit and an 8-track tape player for an audio guide. Wow. So they did the whole tour via 8-track tape.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yada yada yada. In the heart-pounding climax, they lead the T-Rex away from the guests using a disco ball rigged with flares, reflecting the era's glitz. Because the T-Rex, it's attracted by movement, so that would actually work. I think.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. I think a disco ball taking down a T-Rex is probably the best thing about this pitch. Like I could see that working for sure. They just needed to lead the T-Rex into like, I'm sure there is some sort of like gallery room at Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would really, I think, be, that would be a great set piece.
Yeah. 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 I like that.
Maybe something to think about.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think thumbs down on Jurassic Park 70, The Lost Frontier. I think I'll skip it. I think that's better left in the past. You got anything else on Jurassic Park, Rob?
No, I think that this was
it was really fun.
Really, really fun.
Always fun to go back and rewatch. For sure.
Fun ones to do. What are we going to talk about next week?
Okay, so next week we are going to talk about a movie that originally released on September 10th, 1993, and I don't know if you've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
This is a blind spot for me. I have never seen this movie before, and it's a movie that I for sure should have seen by now. So I don't know how this will go. Like this will either be like a great movie that we're gonna love, or like could be like wildly problematic and not great. And I have no idea, but we'll check it out. True Romance is what's next on the board. September 10th, 1993's True Romance, directed by Tony Scott, starring Christian Slater, Patricia Arquette, Dennis Hopper, Val Kilmer, Gary Oldman, Brad Pitt, and Christopher Walken, and very notably one of the very first Quentin Tarantino projects. Quentin Tarantino penned but not directed True Romance that I've never seen before.
So I like the connective tissue between our movies. Now, this is 2 weeks in a row that we had a movie that featured life-saving CPR between The Sandlot and Jurassic Park. So, shout out to the Movie Ladder podcast who put this idea into the ether. So we have Mr. Robot co-stars here
Yes.
in back-to-back weeks as
Yes.
BD Wong and Christian Slater. We get
That's it.
back-to-back.
That's it. So that's what's hooking us over to True Romance. So
Yes.
we're not trying to steal Brendan and Zach's
No,
thing, but it
no,
does
no,
seem to be happening.
but we are looking for
Yeah.
connective tissue between
Yeah.
the things
Check
that
out the
come
Movie
up.
Ladder podcast. Great podcast.
Yes, and I'm trying to
that's
think,
very fun.
is this really Christian Slater? No, he had done Heathers before
Oh
this.
yeah,
So
no.
yeah, he had
Christian
been
Slater
around
was
for a
for
minute.
sure a thing.
Yeah.
Like this might be like close to the height of Christian Slaterdom.
Yes.
You know, like
Christian Slater at the height of his powers.
yeah, I think so. Like, I think that Christian Slater like peters out for a while, but I think like now, like modern Christian Slater is a terrific version of Christian Slater. Like the Christian Slater of like the last like 5 to 10 years has been great.
He does Young Guns 2.
Oh, Arkansas Dave Rudabaugh is
Pump
who he
Up the
plays.
Volume in 1990.
When was Young Guns 2? Did we miss it already?
1990. Yeah.
Ah, man.
He does Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in 91.
Scarlet.
Yeah. So yeah, here he is.
A big deal at this moment in time.
Yeah,
he's on his way towards Broken Arrow with John Travolta, which I think
Interview with a Vampire in 1994. So both things that we could cover in the next year.
Yeah, we'll be catching Christian Slater. There will be
Jimmy Hollywood.
Yeah, what is Jimmy Hollywood? No idea.
There could be a lot of Christian Slater coming up for us here on 30 Years Greater.
Yeah, I would feel good about that. All right, so True Romance is what is coming next. If you've got feedback for it, you can write in postshowrecaps.com/ask30. If you've got feedback that you want to send our way, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Search for Post Show Recaps 30 Years Greater wherever you get your podcasts. You could also use our RSS link when you search by URL postshowrecaps.com/30. You can watch 30 Years Greater over at our YouTube channel, postshowrecaps.com/YouTube. Hit subscribe. You can check it out live as we're recording, or you can get the VOD after the fact. And you can talk to us on the internet wherever you can find us. I'm at Round Howard. Rob is at Rob Cesternino. Rob, you've got the daily suits going on, and you've got the Big Brother. What else is happening?
Yeah, we've got a bunch of fun stuff going on Rob Has a Podcast. We covered a really fun movie from the Happy Madison brings you Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah. I covered that with Chappelle and Sasha Joseph. It was very fun. I think you'd like it.
This is a new Netflix Adam Sandler movie?
Netflix movie. It's actually the entire Sandler clan. Adam Sandler, his wife, and his 2 daughters, one of which is the lead in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah.
The Sandman making it a family affair. Who thought?
A family affair. Yeah, it's cute. You like it.
We're still we're within range for Billy Madison, right? I think the podcast has to survive to 2025.
Yeah, is that 95? Is Billy Madison?
Yeah, I think so.
Good. All right. Well, good. Well, I'll tell Eric Stein to get on standby.
Fair enough. All right. Check out all those podcasts over at our HAP. Make sure you're still subscribed here to 30 Years Greater, to Jurassic Park. We hope to see you again in 30 years. To everybody else, we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.